One of the biggest questions I get from my students is, why on earth do they have to take a statistics class if they're in the behavioral sciences, if they want to become a therapist? Why do they need to work with data? Well, the obvious answer is, number one, it's a required class, so there's just that. But number two, it makes you better at what you do. The reason that psychology, social work, and family therapy exist as academic disciplines is because they're based on data. They actually try to understand what's going on. It's not just random ideas that people have about my experience was this or my friend did that, but it's based on careful empirical research. It could be quantitative data, it could be qualitative data. But very often in psychology in particular, it's experimental quantitative designs. And so the ability to look at these projects and see what actually works and how the mind actually works and how you can intervene in situations, that requires an ability to work with data to get a reliable, useful conclusion. To give you a good idea of how this works, think about a therapist who's dealing with somebody who has an anxiety disorder. Anxiety is really common, and they want to know what some of the predictors are and what some of the methods are for treating that disorder. Now, they can say, I've met 5 people who had anxiety and they all had this in common. And what you need is something that's more representative and more reliable. So instead of just 5 people you happen to treat, you'll get data from 100 or 1,000, or maybe if you're doing a national study, 10,000 people, and you'll look at what the predictors of anxiety disorders are. And if you're fortunate, you'll have rigorous designed studies that look at different ways of treating anxiety and find which ones are most useful for different groups of people. The point is, not everything is the same for everybody. Anxiety can have different causes and it can manifest in different ways. And so you're going to be able to want to look at the data and see which of these are most useful and which ones are just kind of interchangeable. There's no real difference between them. And so the information we get from these studies, they could be qualitative studies, they could be survey studies or observational studies, and they could be randomized clinical trials. By using that data and going through it with the methods we get from statistical analysis, we'll be able to find the things that are more reliable and more dependable in treating people. And that's going to give you and your patients greater confidence in the work that you're doing. That's why we have this class. That's why we have statistics. That's why we have data, even for people who are intending to not be researchers, but are intending to be people who are professionals in therapy and the helping professions. I want to make one thing really clear. While this is a class I teach called statistics and we use data and some statistical procedures in it, it's not a math class. We have numbers and we have a small set of formulas that we use. But more than anything, this is a class about understanding people. That's why I teach it. My degree's in psychology, not statistics. And that's why this course is taught in the behavioral sciences or psychology programs and not the math program or statistics program. We're trying to understand people, and that's our goal. We use the numbers to get insights into people that we couldn't otherwise get. There's a saying that the best value of data analysis is when it shows you something that you never expected to see. And that's going to be most important when we're dealing with people and we have their well-being in our influence. Data and statistics isn't just good for people in the humanities, liberal arts, and social sciences. More to the point, those fields need people from the humanities, liberal arts, and social sciences. Watch the next video and learn more about how that works.